Hello everyone. Today I'm going to talk about human respiratory system. When we talk about the respiratory system, we can see it is located on our thoracic cavity. There are three steps of respiration. They are, first one, gas exchange between external environment and lungs. Second one, gas exchange in alveoli. Third one, cellular respiration. First, we go to identify the parts of the respiratory system. It starts with nose. There are two nasal openings, and then it opens to nasal cavity, then pharynx, larynx, trachea, bronchi, bronchioles. These bronchioles ends with alveoli. These bronchioles and alveoli are positioned inside the lungs. This is the lower margin of the thoracic cavity. It is diaphragm. The rib cage protects our lungs. You can see the ribs covering the lungs here. Then we talk about the nasal cavity. The internal surface of the nasal cavity is covered with mucus. Due to that, the lining is moist. There are numerous cilia present on the lining of the nasal cavity. When we inhaled air, the air is moisturizing due to this mucus. And also air is warming up to body temperature, as well as the foreign matters in the inhaled air is removed by stick onto the mucus, and after that they sent out by the rhythmic movement of cilia. Then we go to the part trachea. It is a muscular tube, so it can be folded. To prevent that, there are C-letter shaped cartilage present in the outer surface of trachea. The starting part of the trachea is called the larynx. There are vocal cords present in larynx and help for our sound production. Trachea divided into two parts called bronchi. One is left bronchus and the other one is right bronchus. These bronchus enter to the lungs. Lungs are present in the thoracic cavity. You already know that. Then they are protected by ribs, and there are muscles inside between these ribs. We call them as intercostal muscles. Lower limit of thoracic cavity is the diaphragm, and inside the lungs there are bronchioles and alveoli. First, we discussed the first step of respiration, that is, gas exchange between external environment and the lungs. We called it as inhalation and exhalation. First, we go to pay attention on inhalation or inspiration. In that, the intercostal muscles between the ribs contract. Due to that, ribs move up and the sternum moves forward. At the same time, diaphragm muscles contract and reduce the curvature of the diaphragm. Due to that, the volume of the thoracic cavity increases. When the volume of thoracic cavity increases, the volume of lungs also increase and its pressure decrease than the atmosphere, so that the atmospheric air flows to the lungs due to pressure difference. This is called inhalation. Exhalation is opposite to that. In that, intercostal muscles relax and ribs move down and the sternum move backward and diaphragm increase its curvature. So the volume of the thoracic cavity decrease and the volume of the lungs also decrease. This creates high pressure inside the lungs than the atmosphere. Due to that, the air inside the lungs flows to the atmosphere. This is called expiration or exhalation. In this diagram, you can see clearly how inhalation and exhalation occur. In the first diagram, you can see the diaphragm moves down and sternum moves forward. So the volume of the thoracic cavity and lungs increase, pressure decrease, so air flows into lungs. In the second one, you can see diaphragm moves up, its sternum moves backward, so the volume of thoracic cavity and lungs decrease, then pressure increase and air flows from lungs to outside. Then we go to talk about the second step of respiration, that is, gas exchange takes place in the alveoli. So that is the wall of the alveoli is our respiratory surface. So what is a respiratory surface? That is a place where gas exchange occurs with blood. In humans, it occurs in the wall of the alveoli. That's why we called humans' respiratory surface is wall of alveoli. The pulmonary artery comes from the heart to the lungs, and it branched and formed a capillary network around alveoli. It has less oxygen concentration. And the gas inside the oxygen gas inside the alveoli diffuse into that blood. And the carbon dioxide inside those blood capillaries diffuse into alveoli. So in this diagram, you can see it clearly. So this is the pulmonary artery with the oxygenated blood. This pulmonary artery is here. Then oxygen from alveoli diffuse to the branches of pulmonary artery, and then they get oxygenated, and the carbon dioxide gas in the blood diffuse into the alveoli. Then these blood capillaries get together and form the pulmonary vein, and it moves to the left atrium of the heart. So for this gas exchange, our wall of the alveoli is highly adapted to efficient that process. Now we go to discuss what are the adaptations shown by the wall of the alveoli for efficient gas exchange. One thing is the alveolar wall being very thin, so it is easy to diffuse gases. Other one is alveolar surface is moist, so the gases can easily dissolve in it and exchange. Other one is presence of blood capillary network around the alveoli. So you can see in this diagram, there is large blood capillary network around these alveoli. So it's easy for exchange of gases. And the other one is presence of large number of alveolar sacs. So you can see there are large number of alveolar sacs here. So it increases the surface area for efficient gas exchange. Okay, then we go to the third step of respiration. We called it as cellular respiration. So what is that? Cellular respiration is the process of oxidation of simple foods to produce energy for biological activities within living cells. So here you know respiration is the process of producing energy. So energy is produced at the end like that. So that is glucose reacts with oxygen gas and production of energy. So we can write it using an equation. First, we can see the word equation. Here you can see glucose plus oxygen, then carbon dioxide plus water and energy. So this is the energy need for biological processes. We can write it as the balanced chemical equation. So you can see here C6H12O6 plus 6O2 equal 6CO2 plus 6H2O plus energy. So those are the respiratory reaction occur in our body cell. This reaction occurs in the mitochondria inside the cell. Then we will talk about the types of respiration. We can see mainly two types of respiration. First one is aerobic respiration. The other one is anaerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration is occur with the presence of oxygen that we discussed as earlier. Anaerobic respiration is occur with the absence of oxygen. In these two types of respiration occurs in plants and animals also. When anaerobic respiration occurs in plants, we call it as alcohol fermentation because ethyl alcohol is produced as a result of that reaction. So you can see the equation for anaerobic respiration occur in plants as well as yeast cells. Glucose is directly break down into ethyl alcohol, carbon dioxide, and energy. The anaerobic respiration occur in animals is known as lactic acid fermentation because as a result of that respiration, lactic acid is formed. So you can see the equation here. Glucose molecule is directly break down into lactic acid and energy. Out of these two types of respiration, anaerobic and aerobic respiration, more energy is produced by aerobic respiration because in that the glucose molecule is completely break down into energy. So I think you can get a knowledge about respiratory system in this lesson. We will meet in another lesson also. Thank you.